So, the full structure deck for Traptrix got released, and Ash Blossom's in it. That's quite good. I already knew beforehand that Raigeki was in it, and I also knew beforehand that Featherduster was in it, so I already pre-ordered 3, as well as the fact that I like the Traptrix new cards and the Traptrix cards in general. I had the deck on Master Duel previously, and I quite liked it, so I was excited for the structure deck, as trying to build it in real life was quite expensive already. So I thought I'd do like a quick review of it, because I am very excited for this structure deck. I feel that it's very budget friendly and offers great reprints. As for mentioned before, Raigeki and Featherduster, but now also Ash Blossom and Evenly Matched, they're great. But besides that, it's also got the Kaijus in it, it's got some Mech Knights, which you probably won't be using, but it's good to have those as like an available options in case you want to, side, in case you want to use them. It also provides Retaliating Sea, which is quite good as a side deck option. But besides that, I should go over the new cards now, as well as probably explaining Sarah as well, because Sarah's probably your main boss monster for the deck. So for the new cards, we have the Traptrix Boudica, we'll say. This card searches your new field spell, as well as when it's special summoned, allows you to banish one of your opponent's monsters until the next standby phase. Then they can special summon one of their banished monsters, which you should remember does not limit them to the one you banish, but any banished monster whatsoever. So, how you want to use this card is you want to banish one of your opponent's special summon monsters, and then you want to have one of these then you will have one of these trap hole cards set to banish it or flip face down permanently or negate the summon, That's why it's for some sets of later, kind of synergy the deck. As well as that, the field spell allows for an extra normal summon of a Traptrix monster. It allows your first time any of the Traptrix will be destroyed, not to be destroyed by battle, as well as banishing one monster you control to special one Traptrix monster from your hand or graveyard, which is quite nice. Then for the next card, we have Traptrix Ara. I'm going to call that Ara and not Yugiohgamv, because that is a mouthful to say. So what does this card do? It lets you special summon it during main phase if you control a Traptrix monster, which allows for great extended plays, as well as triggering your Traptrix Series effect to set a trap card after you use it. However, it should be noted that this locks you into insects and plants only for the rest of the turn in the extra deck, and it can also prevent your spell and trap cards that are set from being destroyed once each turn. Then we have Traptrix Allure. This card lets you discard one level 4 insect or plant monster or one normal trap card to draw 2 cards. So you can also use this in tandem with, say, Retaliating Sea, since it is an insect. For a budget build, this is a good trap card. It also lets you, for a secondary effect, banish it from graveyard to recycle one of your banished trap cards. So when improving the deck, I recommend probably getting Pot of Extravagance over this and playing like 3 Sarahs to make sure it doesn't get banished when you banish like 6 cards, as it allows you to have like a 1 card starter basically, because this card requires say 2 once discard to then use the effect to draw 2, whereas Pot of Extravagance uses the extra deck as its resource, making it a bit better. Then we have Traptrix Hot Leah. This is not Hot Leah. Traptrix thea? Whole thea will say. So this card is basically your embodiment of a Taurus effect. Well, in other words, it's your trap monster for the deck in archetypal, which is quite nice. You can use it on the turn it's set by sending one normal trap card from your hand to the graveyard. It's got 2400 defense. It's level 4 to also tie into your plays. So this is basically your second copy of the Phantom Knights of Shea Brigade, but instead of having the restriction of having no trap cards in your graveyard, the restriction is you have to send one normal trap card from your hand, which is quite decent in a Traptrix deck. So yeah, those are the new cards. Let's go on to the extra deck. Traptrix Aptius. This card boosts all of your Traptrix monsters by 1000 attack while you have a normal trap card in the graveyard. As well as that, you can target face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of insect and plant monsters you control and negate their effects, until the end of the turn obviously. And then you can banish one normal trap card from your graveyard, and if you do, destroy one of those targeted cards. So this card's supposed to be the new boss monster for the deck, but in reality it's very situational, it's not really that good. It does allow to push for games sometimes because it boosts all your monsters by an extra 1000, so if you have like say 4 monsters on board, that's probably an extra 4k, which is quite nice. It is a link free, so yeah, take that into account. Now the actual good boss monster for this deck is Traptrix Pingusia. And this card reads, while this card has an Xyz material, it is unaffected by trap effects and by activated effects from any other monster with the same type as any of those materials, which is quite a good effect considering most decks have the same type. Most archetypal decks have the same type, excuse me. As well as that, you can detach one material from this card to add one Traptrix monster from your deck to your hand. As well as, if a monster that is owned by your opponent is sent to the graveyard or banished by card effect, i.e. your trap cards or also Pudica, you can then attach one of those cards to this card as material, which is where the top effect comes back into play. You basically have this card face up, you banish it with one of your trap cards, and you can attach their monster as material to then prevent it from being affected by those type of cards. So I play around this deck quite a bit in that, and what I've realised is that this deck fails in response to bakura removal. Yes, it does have Harvest Feather Duster and Mermello, but Harvest Feather Duster, you can only play one copy of it, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, I guess, because then people will be playing free against you. But say, for example, I played against Skill Dream in one of my first matches of the deck, which absolutely wrecks this deck, because you can't use Mermello's bakura removal effect because it's on the field, and unless you draw into Harvest Feather Duster, and it has to go through as well, it's not a good situation for you to be in. So this is my current budget version of the deck. It is playing 3 Ash Bottoms, obviously in 3 evenly matches as that is required. I'm also playing 3 of the trap monsters, and well, 3 of the Traptrix whole tier, and Traptrix Phantom Knight of Shade Brigadier. I'm also playing 3 of all the best Traptrix names. You have Mermello, which searches a trap card for you, and if it's special summon, just target one spell trap card your opponent shows and destroy a target. What's worth noting is that it's mandatory, so if you summon this on your first turn, or special summon this card on your first turn, you can trigger its effect and then activate Sarah's trap effect, or to set a trap effect. Next you have Traptrix Mantis, which searches any Traptrix monster from your deck to your hand, which is kind of your one card combo, I guess, for the deck, because then you can add to your hand Traptrix Arrow, and then you can link off your Mantis for Sarah. Then you can special summon Arrow from hand to set a trap card from deck. So I guess that's sort of a one card combo, but it's not that good, just those 2 themselves, but good thing you have a 5-star hand, I guess. So you play 3 of Traptrix Arrow because it's an extender for the deck as well as being chainable. So say you summon out a Traptrix Mantis and they say activate, I don't know, what's a good instruction card? Let's say you're playing against Mekanko and they equip your Mantis and they attempt to bounce the Mantis. You can then chain Arrow to special summon itself, so you always have a name on board to then go to Sarah and then set your trap cards. Then you play 3 Pudica as well, because Pudica searches out your field spell, which allows you a normal summon and allows you to extend further. As well as its secondary effect when special summon is also quite good, but what's worth remembering is its special summon monsters, so any normal summon monsters will not be affected by this card and will not trigger. We're playing 3 evenly matched. This card's really good removal. I was playing 3 Raigeki until I realised this was in the deck. This deck is more of a control deck rather than an OTK deck, I feel, because of all the trap cards, I guess. As well as the fact that some of your opponent's monsters are probably impervious to being destroyed, and evenly matched being able to banish your opponent's monsters face down and limiting them to 1 card. So say you're playing against Branded, this will limit them to say a 1 Mirror Jade or something, and also will not trigger Mirror Jade if they choose to banish that card. You want to play 6 of all the trap monsters so you can trigger your Sarah's effect to switch summon a monster in your turn. As well as the fact you can actually search out Holia when you have Sarah on the field and activate a monster effect. As long as you can discard 1 trap card, or 1 normal trap card. Then for the side deck, I've done a bit of a budget of just adding in Time Thief Redoer and Castell. Realistically, you will probably play Time Thief Redoer and probably not Castell, because that's kind of a worse option, but Time Thief is really good in this deck as you can make Time Thief with a trap monster and a trap monster. Yeah, actually that's fine. You make it with a trap monster and a monster to give it a bounce to your opponent's top of the deck, as well as banishing it, as well as drawing your opponent's drawing any standby phase. You can attach the top card of their deck to this card's material. So it gives you great disruption. You play 3 of Rafflesia, 2 Aloe Mirrors, and 3 Pingula in this budget version, and 3 Sarah, obviously. You also have Kularia, who you could make, but it's more of a... it's not really preferred over Sarah, most of the time. Actually, I just realised I've not talked about the trap card, have I? Delusion Trap Hole, I don't think that's the name in the actual deck, but we'll just call it that for now. It's quite nice, but it's also quite situational, because saying you're playing Mekanko, which I did, it doesn't trigger because they didn't have any monsters with 2000 or more attack. It basically can target a monster they control with 2000 or more attack and destroy it, and then if you have a whole normal trap card in your graveyard, you can banish one monster from your opponent's graveyard. This is a great way to circumvent, say, Bestial Magnamute, is it? where it has its effect triggering the graveyard to send one special summon monster you control. No, it's Drew's Worm. Where it has its effect in the graveyard to target one monster you control into the graveyard. Because you banish it afterwards, it will not trigger, which is good for keeping your monsters on the field. The same thing kind of happens with Bottomless Trap Hole, where it has 15 more. When your opponent summons a monster 1500 or more attack points, you control that monster and then banish it. So yeah, it's good to keep this in mind. That's why I like to say play 3 Floodgate Trap Holes. Because this one can trigger for any monster regardless of attack points, which also works against Mechanicos, and it's also not one to return, which is great. You might also want to consider playing some Traptrix. I forgot that was in the deck, but just a good option. You also have Grievous Trap Hole, which I quite like for the reason that if you make, say, Serra, and you summon quite a few monsters, you can go into Rafflesia, and then if they activate Nibiru, which happened twice this format, which happened twice so far, you can chain Rafflesia to send this card from your deck to graveyard to negate Nibiru. So Rafflesia is basically your way to get your trap cards online on the first turn, which is quite nice. So yes, this is my current budget version of the deck. There is quite a few. There's quite a few things that I'll probably recommend to making a better version. But for a person starting out and wanting a budget deck, I think this is quite nice. It allows you a lot of great reprints in Margeki, Harpy's Fire Duster, Ash Blossom, and Evenly Match, as well as giving you a decent deck which is quite consistent in the fact that you have a Link 1 Traptrix monster which can be made using any of these trap monsters. Currently, I'm playing 3 of these individual names. They're all very situational, so you might want to consider cutting them or changing the ratios. It's not really too much of a bother. Dione is quite good. It has 2 different effects. When it's special summoned, it can set a trap, all trap, but then banish it during your invades of your next turn if it's still on the field. But when it's normal summoned, you can special summon 1 trap this monster in defense mode from your graveyard, which allows for rank 4 plays. Genlysia lets you tribute itself to set 1 trap card from your graveyard and 1 from your deck with different names, which is also quite good, but banish it when you leave the field. And Visculio is your old combo starter, which is quite decent. It's basically your different copy of Arrow, which is quite worse in the fact that it requires you to send 1 trap card you control to the graveyard. However, it does allow you, if you control no cards in your spell and trap card zone, to banish it from the graveyard to then target 1 whole normal trap card in your graveyard and send it to your field. One last thing I would like to say is for Holiataya, is that you can banish this card from your graveyard to also special summon 1 Traptrix monster from your graveyard. You can't use both effects on the same turn, but for the banishment effect, it gives you added interruption in either Mamelo or Pudica to interrupt your opponent on their turn. I did play 1 Kaiju just in case of some very niche scenarios, but if I had to say for your first purchases that you've improved in the deck, I'd probably recommend getting some Cosmic Cyclones or getting Time Thief Redoer. You could also say for the skill drain matchup, because you're definitely not going to be playing Royal Decree in this deck, you could also go for this Nechoria card that's in the deck. It's in the Nechoria Sacred Tree, which is in the structure deck, which when you activate, say, Morella's special summon effect, you can tribute it, so that way the effect still goes off. But yeah, that's all I'll say for now. Have a nice evening.